Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Suspicious Minds. My name is Nini, and I am your host. If true crime is your thing, disappearances, and generally creepy stuff, then you may want to subscribe to the channel. So the button is below, doesn't cost anything, and I would like to bring you a lot of more videos like this. The case we are going to look at today is very sickening. I think there's a special place in the afterlife for this person that we are going to talk about. And I really want to say my heart goes out to every person that this man has crossed paths with, because it is in the top 5 of evil people that I have ever read of. That said, we are today going to look at the case of Johannes de Jager. Before I took a deep dive into this case, I thought that I kind of had the idea what happened. I thought it was horrible, and that's why I wanted to tell the story, so that we can be aware of what led up to this, what signs did the people see. But nowhere in the case could I really pinpoint where anybody should have been aware of this evil man. I also learned something that I think was not communicated enough. I think that the media makes a noise about very unnecessary things, and then crimes are not made enough noise about. The story starts in a town in Mpumalanga. It's a province in South Africa, and the town is called Kriel. Kriel has a very, very large power station, and that's basically what Kriel is known for. Most of the people who live there work at the power station or at some or other service that services the power station, and that power station is responsible for a lot of the load into the grid in South Africa. So it's not an economic hub. There's not something people would go to see. And people who live there live a very normal, plain life. There also are families who have severe financial challenges. There's poverty, and one of the families who had severe financial difficulties for many years were the Maria family. It was mom and dad. Then it was Charmaine Maria. She was the oldest of 2 children, and then she had a younger brother. Now, I'm also not naming a lot of people because most of these people are still around. I don't want to cause any grief to those people, and therefore I'm just going to refer to mom and dad, and this one's mom and that one's dad, except for Charmaine because she was the victim, except for the murderer, and then another victim that we will talk about later. And it was in 2012 that Charmaine Maria was 16 years old, and she had already left school by this age. Charmaine was very bright, so it wasn't like she was struggling with school. I think she was really struggling with the fact that she saw the hardship that her parents went through, and she wanted to be the solution for them. The family had it really bad. It wasn't just like, oh, we don't have money to go on holiday. They really had it bad, and so much so that at night Charmaine and her brother had to go somewhere else for dinner. But it was a caring community that helped. They cared about Charmaine's parents and Charmaine and her brother. By the age of 16, Charmaine really wanted to change the circumstances of her parents, herself, and her brother. It was during this time, in 2012, that one of Charmaine's best friends, which we're going to call Kay told Charmaine in 2012 that she is moving to Cape Town. She is going to stay with her mother. Some articles said that Kay was older than her, but nevertheless, they were really good friends, and she and Charmaine talked about Charmaine joining Kay in Cape Town, and maybe Charmaine could get a job and pave the way for her parents to also go to Cape Town. Charmaine's parents and the guardian who stood in when the parents couldn't provide did not want her to go to Cape Town. They said to her, please stay. You're a child. You don't have to be the solution for us. And she begged them, please allow her to go. And it was finally when they saw that Charmaine is not going to give up on this, that Charmaine's mother got in contact with Kay's mother, and they discussed a plan. Kay's mother was very happy to have Charmaine there. It sounded like Kay's mother had a good job. She was financially stable. She didn't mind helping Charmaine look for a job. The only problem was that she said to Charmaine's mom that Charmaine is welcome to come and stay with them, but that she had booked a cruise for herself, for Kay and her boyfriend's son to go on between the 7th of January and the 11th of January. So she said Charmaine is welcome to fly down on the 12th of January and then start her new life in Cape Town. Unfortunately, Charmaine had a deathly fear of flying. I don't believe she had ever flown in her life, but she was so scared of flying that she asked Kay's mom if she can please accompany Kay on the bus to Cape Town, and that was going to be on the 3rd of January 2013. The mom said to her, well, if you are fine that we go on the trip, because we cannot cancel, we cannot take you along, if that's fine with you, then that's fine. I just didn't want you to be alone. So the two children said, that's wonderful news. Charmaine is going to be on the bus with Kay, and they will be in Cape Town on the 3rd of January 2013. So off they went. Charmaine greeted her mom, her dad, her guardian, her brother, all her friends. Everybody was excited, but also sad to see her go, and they didn't know when they would see her again. As Kay's mother had explained to Charmaine's mother and to Charmaine, she said to her that Charmaine will be staying with Kay's mom's boyfriend, who was at that stage 48 years old. He was a car mechanic, and his name was Johannes de Jager. Kay knew him. I don't think she saw him a lot, but at that stage it was 4 years that he was living with Kay's mom. When the girls arrived on the 3rd of January 2013, they were very excited. This was a new start for both of them. And Kay's mom said that Charmaine was extremely quiet. Kay's mom said that they had bought gifts for all the kids. So it was Charmaine, Kay, and Johannes' son. And Charmaine was so shy that she didn't open her gifts on the first day that she arrived. The two girls used the time to get to know the neighborhood. They were living in a neighborhood called Kraaifontein, and they started making friends. There were places they went to, because remember, they now had from the 3rd of January until the 6th, because the 7th was the boat cruise. And the two of them took this time to get to know the area. Kay's mom also tried to get Charmaine into a school, because she thought that Charmaine is 16 years old. She has to finish school. She's a bright, intelligent child. And I really get the sense that Kay's mom wanted the best for Charmaine. And she felt protective over Charmaine. She didn't have success. The schools didn't want to accept Charmaine. Not sure why. Then they started looking for any kind of job for Charmaine. They weren't asking for a lot. They started applying for jobs. On the 7th of January, Johannes de Jager took Kay's mom, Kay, and his son to the harbor, and they docked the cruise ship for their cruise of a lifetime. He went back home, and the moment he set his foot into the Kraaifontein residence, that is when all hell started for poor Charmaine. For those of you who are too young to remember or were not born yet, there was a cell phone brand called a BlackBerry. Now, BlackBerry was the phone to have at a stage. As far as my knowledge goes with cell phones, they provided one of the very first texting platforms, which was called BlackBerry Messenger. Now, we would then send a BBM for short, and you're going to hear that a lot because Charmaine had a BlackBerry and she had sent BBMs to her friends, her family. She was constantly on her phone. So if I refer to BBM, then you know that's a lot like WhatsApp that we have today. As far as I can remember, you could only BBM on a BlackBerry. Charmaine, as I said, was constantly on her phone, whether good, bad, bored, not bored, she was on her phone. And it was shortly after the family went on the cruise ship that the people back in Kriel received very alarming BBMs from her. So she would start sending her friends, her mom, her guardian. The uncle was being funny with her. Uncle would be a form of respect that we would give to an older man. Now, funny in that translation would be weird. When they would ask, what do you mean weird? She would say that he's being sexual with me. He's asking me funny things about myself and about sex. So it started with he's asking her these things. And then she started saying, he's touching me. Now, this is in a matter of days that it escalated from nothing to this man got in bed with her and wanted to have sexual relations with her. Now, as I said, Charmaine was a very bright and intelligent girl, and somewhere she was very streetwise as well, because she started recording those instances when that evil man would get into the room and try to have sex with her. Now, this is one of those messages. Trigger warning, don't listen to this if you get easily upset by things like this.
Onze hand is koud. Nee, Martha. Nee, want kan ek asseblief alleen lê? Maar ek wil nie gewoon by my lê nie. Want ek wil nie, man. Nee, ons kan nie. Dat is soms ons slaap, ne? Ek het van gezegd, ek is onder ouderdom, maar onder weer.
Wat is jy aan?
Ek is 16.
Ja?
Nog steeds.
En nog geslaap?
Nee.
Nee. 6 minuten nog geslaap.
Maar dit werk nie so met my nie, want ek wag tot ek getrouwd is.
As jy getrouwd is?
Ja.
Net vir jy saam slaap nie. Staan wakker wanneer jy probleme is.
What this man also did was that she kept on refusing. In one of the messages she said, "I don't want to have sex with you." So he started refusing her food. He said to her, "Well, you're not going to eat if you don't have sex with me." And she was so scared to go out of her room because she didn't know whether he was there, whether he was waiting for her. So this child was in immense fear of her life. Back in Kriel, nobody knew what to do. Nobody had money to fly to Cape Town and save her. But there was one very close friend of hers that I also, hats off to this woman. If you ever watch this video, you are a powerful, strong woman, and I really respect you. So what she did is she actually called Johannes de Jager and she pretended to be Charmaine's mother. And she gave him a piece of her mind and she said, "Do not touch my daughter." And Johannes just laughed it off and he said, "Oh, you are crazy, she's lying." And this friend didn't stop there. She actually called the Kraaifontein police station and said to them that this is what's happening, please send somebody to help her. They got the address from her. They told her they're on her way. She called Charmaine. She said, "Charmaine, just keep on watching out of the window. Look at the street. If the police stops in front of your house or the house, wave your arms, shout out of the window, but they're on their way." Now it is 12 years later. The police still hasn't arrived. I think when Charmaine realized that the police is not going to save her, nobody is going to save her, she kept her in mind on the date that her friend is returning. But she also wanted to get out of that house. Now we have to keep in mind, because to be honest with you, before I investigated this case, I also thought, oh, how can you send your child away? There were things that I thought that I am not thinking anymore. This child arrived there with the clothes on her back. Her parents did not have extra money to give her. There was no savings account. There's no credit card. There's no mommy and daddy will come and fetch you. She was in grave danger. And nobody had the financial, the physical, the emotional means to save this child. So she devised a plan and somehow she managed to escape the house one day. She ran down the street and found a man down the street. I'm not sure if he was in his yard or what, but she explained to him what's going on. And she asked him if he could perhaps give her money to buy a bus ticket because she needs to get out of here. Now the man unfortunately didn't have money, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't also give a young child money because you never know what the money is for. So he instead gave her his cell phone number and said to her, "Call me when this man does this again." And poor Charmaine just went back into the lion's den and waited for that evil man to return. So if you have ever been on a cruise, you will know that there's no cell phone reception for most of the cruise, and that was the same for Kay and her mom. Now, Charmaine sent exactly the same messages to Kay and her mom. I am not sure if she sent them the voice recordings, but I know that on the morning of 11th of January, when they docked at the harbour, at the V&A waterfront, the cell phone reception started coming back, and you can imagine the phone started getting messages. Now, mom was packing her bag, Kay was in another cabin, and she apparently ran to her mother and she was in hysteria. The mom didn't understand completely what was going on, but she gathered that Kay received messages from Charmaine that said that Johannes was trying to have sex with her. Now, putting myself in Kay's mom's shoes, it must have been very confusing because you know your boyfriend. You don't know this child, but you know your child, and your child knows this friend of hers. And I don't know what the conversation was between Kay and her mom. I don't know if her mom said, calm down, I'll sort this out. But when they docked and they were met by Johannes alone, remember now it's Kay, her mom, and Johannes' son, their immediate question was, where is Charmaine? And Johannes said to them, no, she went to buy cigarettes this morning and she wasn't back in time to join me. So I just drove because I want to miss the traffic. So the ship docked at 5, they probably got off at 6, and it's thousands of people. So probably by 7, they were with Johannes. Now they were in the car, and I'm just imagining either there were complete thick silence, or Kay was hysterical, which nobody can blame her. And the mom then brought it up. She said to Johannes, my words, I'm not sure how she said it to him, but it was a case of, Johannes, we got very scary messages from Charmaine saying that you wanted to sleep with her. And again, he made it off as there's something wrong with the child, she's lying, I won't do that, the regular denials. Both of them, Mom and Kay, expected to see Charmaine back at home. When they arrived home, Charmaine was not there. So Kay's mom got very, very concerned because this immediately raised red flags for her. In mid-afternoon, they started driving around Kraaifontein. They went to the places that Kay and Charmaine frequented before the cruise ship, and they did not find Charmaine. They found nothing. They went to the shop that Johannes said she went to buy cigarettes, and the shop person who worked there said that he hasn't seen her since she was there last with Kay. Kay's mom was very, very worried, also because this child is now in her care, and on her watch the child got missing. And it was later that evening that Kay's mom said, Johannes, take Kay and my sister and go and report her missing at the police station. The mom stayed because she thought if Charmaine comes home while we are all gone, she's going to be scared. So let me stay. Kay knows all her details. She can give it to you, and you're an adult. You can go to the police station to do a missing persons report. At the police station, Johannes acted like the very concerned guardian. He signed the documents, asked questions to Kay, looked very concerned for this child. But then you look at him in court, and he's got such an arrogant look. And I will tell you what the judge said later about him, but I just have to say, I cannot even imagine what he looks like when he looks concerned. They returned home on the 11th. That's when they reported her missing at the Kraaifontein police station. Just a side note, I was wondering, did they not connect this missing child with the call they got from somebody that said there's a child that's being held against her will, she's not being fed, she's being made sexual advances towards. Well, in the days that followed, they started putting up flyers. These people really tried, I have to say. It was then, not just specifically what day, but that everybody on Charmaine's BBM got a message that said, I'm at a bus stop, I'm on my way to Kriel, I'm going back home. Now, I'm not sure what this specific wording was, but that was the gist of it. And they went to the police to report this, and the police said, do you know how many bus stops we have? We are not going to go to each and every bus stop and look for a child that has run away from home. After this BBM, Charmaine's loved ones sighed a bit of a relief, because it sounded like something that she would have done, and she did ask for money to come back home. So they were all praying that she's on a bus on her way home. And on the 14th of January, Kay's mom said to Johannes, let's just go to the police and just hear what's going on, because if she was on a bus, she would have been home by now. So it was Kay, her mom, and Johannes went to the police station. I can imagine they were put in a room, and if you've ever seen a South African police station, it's not as nice as international police stations that you see overseas. It's very non-personable and very government building type of situation. So they put the three of them in a room and they started an aggressive questioning of them. They just went there for an update, and then the police started questioning them. And Kay's mom said that there was so many questions about the flyers that she started thinking, did we do something wrong to put the flyers up? And they put pressure on the three of them, put pressure and pressure. And it was then when Kay's mom, I don't know if she exploded, but because up until then, they didn't tell the police about the messages that she had sent and that Kay received. And it was then when the mom lashed out at Johannes and she said to him, if you didn't try to sleep with her, she wouldn't have run away. Because they were now all still thinking this child had run away. And it was when she said this that they split Johannes from them, took Johannes somewhere else, I don't know where, and she was confused. Mom and Kay was like, what is going on? And they said that it was then when a policewoman came in and she said to them, please accept my condolences. And Kay and her mom were still very confused, and the male policeman just said to the female, we haven't told them yet. It was then that the police revealed, and this is shocking, horrifying, so if you don't like to hear things like this, don't listen for the next 2 minutes. But the police then informed Kay's mom and Kay that they had found Charmaine's burned torso near a shooting range. She was just discarded in the field. They asked her about a belly ring, and she said that yes, Charmaine had a belly ring. And that is when the police asked Kay's mom, can we search your cars? Because they had a few cars. Johannes liked cars and motorbikes, and they asked her if they can search the home. She was cooperative. She said yes. And when they arrived at the home with the police asked them to bring all of Johannes' stuff to one point. I'm not sure if it was in the house or out of the house. I think Kay's mom was beyond herself being angry. And she said that she and Kay took all Johannes' stuff and they threw it out. And when they took the jacket that he always wore to work, that is when they found Charmaine's BlackBerry cell phone in his jacket. When they went through the cell phone, they came across the voice recordings. They came across all the messages that she had sent to everybody, desperately wanting somebody to help her. It was on the 15th of January, after finding the phone, that they arrested Johannes de Jager for her murder. Now, a got you type of feeling was that he tried to delete the messages that she sent, but he didn't know how to delete those voice recordings that she had made. So, well done, girl, well done. They also, very horrifying, found her arm underneath a car in their garage. It was wrapped in newspaper in a box, and eventually they found the rest of her body scattered next to the highway, a road that Johannes used to take on a regular basis. At the start of this video, I told you that there were few things that I found out when I started researching this case. And one of it was that Johannes de Jager was a person of interest in a case in 2008. And that was the murder of an 18-year-old girl with the name Hiltina Alexander. Hiltina was last seen on the 18th of May 2008 in Parow when she left a bar with two of her very close friends. Now, this one friend said that she had told him that she had one more customer left for the evening. She whistled when a car drove by, a white bakkie. The gentleman stopped. She went to talk with him and she got in the car. She waved at her friends and said, "I'll see you in a 30 minutes, 45 minutes time back at your place." Now, the male matched Johannes de Jager's features. The bakkie matched the vehicle he was driving at the moment. The next morning, Hiltina's lifeless body was found. She was strangled. She was sexually assaulted. She was brutally killed. And her friend, the one that saw her getting into the car, was the main suspect. Now, he knew that he didn't do it, and he was very adamant that she got into a white pickup truck. The police, to me, sounds like they didn't believe him. They accused him of being a pimp. To me, it seems like in the beginning it wasn't really taken seriously. So this friend of hers was walking around as a suspect. And it was about 2 weeks after her death, he was walking past a car mechanic workshop when he saw this bakkie. Now, this sounds like something out of a movie, but this really happened. So he walked into this mechanic workshop and he says, "Hey guys, whose bakkie is standing outside?" And then Johannes comes forward and he's like, "It's mine, why do you ask?" And this friend grabbed the bakkie's keys because he didn't want Johannes to leave the premises, and he started calling the police. It was then when Johannes pulled a firearm on this friend and said that he's going to shoot him if he doesn't give him his car keys. Now, in the meantime, somebody else called the police. Police arrived and they took both of them to the station. Now, this friend was adamant. Hiltina got in the car with this guy. When they searched Johannes's white pickup truck, they found Hiltina's earring under the front passenger seat. They asked Johannes, "Did this girl get in the car with you?" And first he denied it, and then he came up with this fantastic story that he met a Namibian guy in a bar. And the police asked him, "What's this guy's name?" He says, "This guy's name is Johan, the same as mine. Wouldn't you know?" And this man asked him to bring him a lady of the night because he wanted to make use of her services. And Johannes picked up Hiltina for this strange unknown person he has just met from another country, whose mother very conveniently lives in a flat in Parow. And he went up the stairs with Hiltina, introduced her to Johan. They immediately went to bed, and the last time he saw Hiltina was in this Namibian Johan's bed in his mother's flat. And the police said, "Right, go and show us where's the flat." So he was like, oh, I have to go, I'm in a hurry, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll show you tomorrow. So that tomorrow became quite a number of other days, and I think that police station must be very, very busy, because the murder and rape of an 18-year-old woman wasn't really a priority, and it just fizzled out. Some other time he came around, Johannes, he went to show somebody else where the flat is. Policemen knocked on the door. The people who lived there didn't know a Johannes or a Johan. They didn't know a mother of Johan, never stayed there, and it just fizzled away. Nothing was done about the murder of Hiltina Alexander. Luckily, the pathologist in Hiltina's case took bodily fluid off her body. As I said, she was horribly treated. DNA under her fingernails. I don't know when they tested this, but somewhere when he was arrested for Charmaine's murder, because Charmaine also fought back, the DNA was a match to Hiltina's case, and it was then in November 2013 when the case went to trial, and Johannes de Jager was charged with 7 counts of the murder of Charmaine Maria, the murder of Hiltina Alexander, 2 counts of the R word. I want to say the R word because sexual assault is really watered down to what was done to this child. Indecently defiling Charmaine's corpse, because I'm still going to tell you what he did to this poor child. And the theft of her cell phone. The judge was Judge Chuma Kosi. It's a lady, and I have to say she was appalled by this man. So of course he said he's not guilty, and his story is as follows. Again, I'm putting a little bit of my own words in there, but this is what he said. He said ever since Kay's mom left on the boat trip and Kay left and the son left, he found Charmaine to be very revealing. She was enticing him sexually. She walked around in the house. She was telling everybody in Creole she's not allowed to leave her room, but according to him, she was walking around the house in see-through clothes with no underwear. He also said that she was extremely lazy, and she didn't want to clean the room, she didn't want to wash the dishes, she didn't want to do anything. They actually played the recordings in court. One of the recordings says, "No, don't touch me, your hands are cold." And he said, yeah, I was trying to get her out of bed because I wanted to pull her on her feet. She's lazy, she had to get out of bed. So he had an answer for everything. Now, he said on the morning that they were supposed to pick up Kay's mom, Kay and the son. Charmaine knew what time they were going to leave, and he didn't want to get stuck in traffic. And she was in the bathroom, and he wanted to make sure that she's going to be on time. He pulled her on her arm. Now, she was really a tiny little girl. Her feet slipped on the bathroom carpet, and she had struck her head at the side of the bath. He said that she fell down and she was unconscious. I have to say that Johannes de Jager and myself, thank the good Lord above, are 2 very different thinkers. Because his first thought when Charmaine now fell and hit her head on the bath was to hide her body so that nobody can see it. It was to take her cell phone. It was to pretend that she had gone and buy cigarettes. Because he said that he then took her body, and in their yard was a municipal drain. He had lifted that cover, which is very heavy, and he had pushed her body in there. Because remember, you don't want to miss the traffic. That was before he picked them up from the harbor. 2 days later, on the 13th of January, he realized that I have to do something with Charmaine's body. He wanted to get the body out of this drainage, and he said that the body started to decompose and therefore it was swollen. So he had to dismember the body. Now he apparently told in minute details what he did, how easy it was, how he never had any training before, but he did it. It is disgusting what he said, but he explained to the court, wrapped the body parts, went there, put this in a backpack, put petrol there. Horrifying. In court, the pathologist could prove that he was lying. She did not fall and bump her head because there were no fractures on her skull. So it was a very tangible proof that he killed her and that he was lying about the accident. As I mentioned earlier, they played the recordings that she had made, and it felt, for the people who were there, like Charmaine was talking from the grave and she was vindicated. That showed that he had a very clear motive to kill her. He wanted to have sex with her, she didn't want to, and it was time for his girlfriend to come back, and she is going to tell the girlfriend what had happened. So he had to get rid of her. So it was shown that he was a liar, that he had done this before. On the 29th of April 2014, after all the evidence was heard, the defense had a very, for both cases, ridiculous explanations. The judge then meticulously went through the case, and she found Johannes de Jager guilty on all the charges that was made against him. I just want to read to you what the judge had summarized. She said that your claims of an accidental fall were deemed not credible. The circumstantial evidence, Charmaine's fearful messages, the sexual advances recordings, your possession of her phone, and your active role in dismembering and concealing the body all pointed to your guilt, not an accident. And by the end of that day, Johannes de Jager was a convicted double murderer. Now there were some back and forth by Dr. Gerard Labuschagne that he actually testified, and he said that Johannes should be labeled a serial killer, but the judge said she doesn't agree. I want to specifically say that I'm not going to refer to him by the name the media had given him, because I actually think he likes the name. His name is Johannes Christian de Jager. I think it should stay that way. I don't think we should give him any name that makes him feel like he's powerful in any way. On 27 May, the court reconvened to get the charges and the sentencing of the charges, and Judge Choma Kosi was unequivocal in her ruling when she said that Johannes de Jager must spend the rest of his life in jail. He will never walk the streets of South Africa ever again. In practice and in numbers, he was given 4 life sentences, 1 for each of the 2 murders and 1 for each of the R events in Hiltina's case. He also received 6 years for mutilating Charmaine's body and 3 months for stealing her cell phone, which he was too stupid to use. Judge Kosi also remarked a few times about Johannes's arrogance, his no sign of remorse. She said that his arrogance actually sometimes was going over to contempt of court. He would sit there, eat Hall's lozenges. In the beginning, he was apparently very hostile to the photographers. He actually slapped one of the photographers, but later on he started enjoying the attention, and that's why I refused to use the words that he was called. When he was led also back to prison after the outcome and the sentencing were given, he showed no emotion. He showed like, I had to attend something now, I'm going home now. He just didn't care. Her mother was sitting right behind him. As of today, which is in the year 2025, Johannes de Jager is still in prison. Thank God for that. This man ensured a dreadful end to two beautiful young girls. The 18-year-old Hiltina Alexander, because of circumstances, she had to do what she had to do to survive. And Charmaine Marais, who wanted to be her parents' savior. It was both so unnecessary. And my question to you is, a man that was described as kind, caring, loving. Is it possible that there are monsters among us and we cannot see it? I'm just going to leave you with that question. Tell me what you think in the comments and stay suspicious. Until next time, bye.
Discretion.